Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Chad here with another In the OT podcast for BetHubb Of course, today we are discussing none other than the big Dwight Howard trade that has gone down in the last 24 hours. I waited until now to provide my analysis and commentary on everything because I wanted to ensure that it was 100% official. We've seen the NBA pump fake in previous occasions with big time trades like this, i.e. the Chris Paul situation last year. Everybody went berserk and started breaking down the Lakers only to have it rescinded. Now, before we actually move into how this is going to affect the league and the landscape of it, I'm so glad that this is finally done with. I cannot stand Dwight Howard and the drama that surrounded him for the last couple of years with him changing his mind all the time, acting mopey like a baby and lying. Finally, we can put that to bed. The rumors end, and now it's just straight basketball and breaking it down from that perspective. So the Los Angeles Lakers here, they already had to be considered contenders with Steve Nash added to the mix. Now you throw in Dwight Howard, the best defensive center in the NBA, and most assuredly they are going to be, I would say, co-favorites with Miami. I still give them the slight advantage because they are a little bit younger, and they are a team that has finally meshed together, and LeBron James is the best player in the game. And you just don't know for sure how this Lakers team is going to come together from a chemistry standpoint. And on top of that, as good as Dwight Howard is, it's not like they're getting that much of an offensive production increase based on what Andrew Bynum was giving them. As a matter of fact, I'd still say Bynum is still the better pure offensive player. I'm not saying he's better overall. I still believe that Dwight Howard is better defensively and a little bit more reliable in terms of knowing what you're going to get on the court. So from that perspective, the Lakers do improve. And everything we talked about Steve Nash when his move went down at the beginning of July can be applied to why this team is that much better, because Dwight Howard's not someone that's going to create a lot of offense on his own. He's clearly not someone you can build a team around. So when you put him in the mix here, when he's going to be the third or fourth option, I think it's going to be extremely beneficial to him if he is willing to accept that and not be a baby about not getting enough touches. Because let me tell you, Steve Nash, he will get him the ball down low. He will get a ton of good looks. He'll be a monster defensively, and it will just really help the way that this Lakers team is comprised play the style of basketball they want. What I mean by that is Steve Nash is not the greatest defensive player in the world. We know that. Good point guards are going to run circles around him. Well, you know what? That's fine. He's going to have support defense from Kobe on the perimeter, from Meta World Peace. And on top of that, now if you want to take the ball into the paint, it ain't going to be easy to go ahead and do that against a Dwight Howard. And the same thing can be said with Pau Gasol, who's sometimes questioned for his softness on the defensive end. We know he's very skilled offensively, so there's a nice contrast on the perimeter and down low of having good defensive players and highly skilled offensive players. So that's what I like with the Lakers here. I don't know for sure if we can just straight up say that they're better than Oklahoma right now, because those guys have played together a little bit longer and they are a bit younger and more athletic. And when you look at the Lakers, they still do not have a lot of depth outside of those players. Who do they bring in this offseason? Jamison, that's about it. I think they may have gotten guys like Earl Clark and Chris Duhon from the trade, which is all right, and they still have a Devin Ebanks who brought a little something, and Jordan Hill, so they're doing okay, and then Steve Blake, when he's hitting his shots, can be half decent, but we know that guys like Nash are not going to play a lot of minutes in the regular season. Same thing with Kobe, and we don't know how Dwight Howard's back is going to react after the surgery, but nonetheless, you got to believe that this is the favorite in the West, even though we have seen Oklahoma City rise up the last couple of years, and I expect them to play Miami in the finals. So nonetheless, it's a good trade for them because they don't even really risk that much long-term here. Bynum probably wasn't going to sign with them long-term anyways, and even though they don't have any assurance from someone like Bynum, from Dwight Howard, you're pretty much trading two guys that you didn't have any long-term future with the contract, so you might as well get the better player and go for it all right now with Kobe getting older and Steve Nash. Now, besides that, we do have to pay attention to what's happened with some of these other teams here and the way they have improved, or shall we say not improved, from the trade. Of course, Orlando didn't really get a whole lot much here, and I don't blame them. They realized last year that without Dwight Howard playing, they were lucky to even make the playoffs, and they might as well get really bad and try to get as many high draft picks as possible, which is certainly going to be the case here in the future by losing someone like a Jason Richardson off the roster as well. Same with Earl Clark and Chris Duhon. I do like Aaron Aflalo. He's a nice player, not someone you can build around, but he could be a good starter, good defensive player, can provide 12, 13 points a game. Al Harrington is a contract that's expiring. I've always sort of liked his game game. He can shoot from the outside, bring it in the paint. Has been a bit of a head case. Nikola Vucevic also has a bit of upside as well. So they do get a couple of players that will help fill out that roster, but I'd be shocked if Orlando makes the playoffs this year, and I think their intention is to actually miss the playoffs. Now, Denver and Philadelphia, a little bit more intriguing here. Philadelphia, Bynum, I think it's a good move for them because of the fact that they never really did have a legit down-low presence in the paint. Elton Brown was old and on his way out, and Spencer Hawes is more of an outside shooter. Lavoy Allen did play quite well when he came in last year, but I like the move for them because Iguodala is not the type of player that you're going to ooh and ah over. Sure, he's a borderline all-star player, plays good defense, will get you 16, 17 points a game, but anytime you have the chance to bring in a 7-footer, 285 pounds like Bynum, they're a rare dime a dozen and a breed in the league, so you got to take advantage of bringing him in, even if it is departing with Iguodala. They also get Jason Richardson in return, who in terms of talent isn't all that far off from Iguodala. A similar sort of slashing scorer, can shoot from the outside probably better than Iguodala can. A bit of a head case at times, but when you look at the way that roster is comprised with Doug Collins, they just are a very guard-orientated team, perimeter players, so it's no big deal losing the lights of an Iguodala. And for the sake of Denver here, I like what they've done because they really have added someone that can just immediately emerge into the starting lineup. I've always said that Denver is a team that really has tremendous depth, so sometimes if they can really improve at one position and eliminate some of that depth, they don't necessarily have to worry about having all these guys starving to get on the court with the minutes and everything. So Iguodala will replace what Aaron Aflalo did and Al Harrington, who's on his way out, and you look at their guard play with Ty Lawson, who's pretty good, and then the Kenneth Farieds, Danilo Gallinari, JaVale McGee, Wilson Chandler's back in the mix there, so they're a team that will definitely make the playoffs with an Iguodala as well. So I do believe that Philadelphia and Denver will be just as good as they were last year, if not better. Orlando's going into the tank, trying to miss the playoffs on purpose, and the Lakers are a clear-cut contender right now, step probably behind the Miami Heat, and I would say they'd have to be considered a little bit better than Oklahoma City right now. So those are my breakdowns of the big trade that went down. Chad here with another In the OT podcast, BetHubb Sports Blog.